Hi, this is Abigail Joy with I Am Marketing. I have Dion Croom. He's the CEO of Creative 3D Web PLC. So tell me about your ICO Creative 3D Web PLC, please.
Well, basically the company was established about 3-4 years ago, and the best way to describe it is when you look at what our vision statement is we call it the edge of freedom. And why we say that is because the company deals in interacting with 3D technologies to create a better web experience. And what do I mean by that? If you go back to the beginning of the web, there's an eternal question that was asked: how do you create a link between the physical and virtual space?
Right.
That has always been the question. So when you think of the web, it's kind of like Matrix, for those that remember the Matrix. The web is this. You can't touch it. But yet trillions of dollars are interacted on something you can't touch. In the physical space, I've just met you. I was able to shake your hand, and this is how we are used to interacting.
Yeah.
We're losing that on the web.
True.
The advent of mobile phones, people think they're connected. You're actually not. You're actually talking to a piece of glass.
Right.
Yeah. And what's happening with web browsing? You got Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and now we're moving into Web 3.0. What is Web 3.0?
Yeah.
You no longer are part of the process. You have computers telling you your spending patterns and your buying patterns. You walk by a shop and next thing you know, how did that get on my phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're losing touch.
Right.
The whole view of Creative 3D Web is using the new creative technologies. How do we bring that back? So imagine the current way you interact with the web. You got a mouse and it's click, 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 click. But what if you can have the same mouse and move through web space? Now take that ability to turn around and take any physical location, recreate. We can recreate this building. And this conference we literally can have as we convert you into an avatar, and then you can now walk through that space. I can literally have this virtual meeting with your avatar and my avatar.
Wow.
We can do that. So we can take any flat website and turn it into 3D space. We can take any location. So we call it 3 browsers in one. It's an environmental browser. It's a 3D search engine. Sight is still the most powerful influence of impulse. The fact that I can be dropped in their environment and walk around.
Yeah.
I trust that interaction because I see it, so therefore I can then touch it or interact with it versus someone telling me what I should be doing. So giving an example, you have a lot of e-commerce sites. You have an e-commerce business. How do you know how many visitors you have? Who tells you that?
The website would tell you, right?
No. You have one of the largest corporations on the planet.
Yeah, Google
will tell you how many hits. So my question is, how do you know?
Right, you don't.
But in a virtual environment where you have 3D avatars, by converting you into an avatar, what we're saying to people is take control of your digital journey, your digital footprint. Because of the fact that I can turn around now and walk inside of a 3D space, I'm interacting. So like I said, I can meet you.
Yeah.
I can also count how many people have come into my 3D store. Now, and then the other element of it is a 3D social network. I can now come into your 3D space with my friends. What are we doing with that technology? We're targeting 5 key industries. The ones that are close to my heart. One is education. Imagine soon teachers being able to take children who's never been to the Tate, Cairo Museum of Natural History, can now, because of social economic reasons, all of a sudden now, through their teacher connected to avatars, you can have a classroom of avatars walking through an environment. This is not VR. You do not need glasses.
Wow.
It's not that. It is a browser.
Yeah.
But so that's one. Healthcare. For instance, the current project and our use case on our ICO, the Virtual 3D Web, is that we've built a literal treatment environment, a whole world that is about healing.
I love that.
To deal with gaming addiction. Because one of the biggest problems in our research, we found that why people can't heal from addiction. The truth of the matter is we don't talk.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm ashamed of my addiction. And if I told my best friend who knows my wife and my kids and I'm spending $2,000 a week gambling, will I tell my best friend I have a gambling problem? No, I won't.
I want to keep it a secret.
Exactly. So, and that's why healthcare professionals can't deal with the problem because one, you're not coming into the red door. If the red door says addiction problem and you live in a small community, you're not walking through that red door.
Right. That
You
makes
see?
sense.
So imagine a virtual environment where you're anonymous, you're an avatar, and the whole environment is about healing. And
Yeah.
as you walk through that environment with elements of gamification, things that you're used to, you're able to say, I'm anonymous, but I can now take support from someone. And as I come to trust you because I'm in an avatar environment, eventually you can say, actually, my name isn't David, it's Dion.
Right.
Can you help me with where I live?
Wow.
So that is what our first use case about. But the virtual 3D web itself,
do a lot.
it's 3 layers. It is a virtual layer. We've interacted blockchain inside of that. And one of the biggest elements that's unique to our new platform engine, it has biometrics as a security layer.
Tell me more about the biometrics.
Well, basically, currently how we interact, we have passwords.
Yeah.
And now in the blockchain space, we got secret keys. You know what happens if you lose that key?
Ugh, you're going to lose everything.
You lose everything.
Right.
Or I can't remember the password. Reset. Oh, did I use capital B or lower B?
Yeah.
Reset.
Yeah. And then what if you don't have the email password and all that?
There you
Yeah.
go. Imagine a platform for browsing the web that your first access, whether it's your tablet or using an app on the phone, is your thumb.
Yeah, your fingerprint,
Your
right?
fingerprint.
Yeah.
And not just a snapshot of your fingerprint. I can't go too far into that
Yeah,
technology,
that's okay.
but when it's ready to be made public, it will be.
Yeah.
But there's a unique element of this biometrics that now imagine, log on. It not only logs me on into the environment, it also logs me into my wallet.
Very nice.
So as now, remember I said that you are now the digital footprint. You're your own KYC, you're your own GDPR, you're your own responsibility for your data.
Right.
By locking in with biometrics, no matter where I go in the environment, I'm connected to my data. I'm responsible for my data. When I log out of the network, I take that with me
Yes.
because it's my thumb.
Way more private.
Exactly.
And the power is in your hands.
Exactly.
So how do you guys specifically implement the blockchain?
Well, again, the software in itself, we were already developing that.
Okay.
And then we heard about blockchain. And it's not just, oh, let's ride that bandwagon. We really looked at, will adding the blockchain layer make any real difference to our business model? And we feel it does. Just the very nature of what the blockchain is itself. And we brought on specialists that understand it. One of our key blockchain technologists is Stefan. He's helped us as a company to understand why there was a need to put blockchain, not just say it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not here in this space because we're just looking to grab money. We're going to do this with or without blockchain.
Right. That makes sense.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
But there is some functionalities of blockchain. When added to this virtual 3D layer, you add a blockchain layer with the biometrics. Because we are a virtual world or universe of virtual worlds, what happens is when companies go on our platform, for instance, we're building a 3D Vegas in second quarter of next year, 725
Cool.
virtual locations.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when each company comes on that environment,
Yeah.
it has a piece of blockchain connected with that space. So they don't have to worry about building a blockchain. They already
Yeah.
have a piece of ours
Right.
when they rent a space or occupy a space.
Yeah.
So anyone can apply blockchain just by being a part of it. And one of the big features of us, we want to interact with other projects in ICO or blockchain because we can bolt it together. So if you imagine that virtual layer where there's a digital representation of a person, I can move across different blockchains underneath it through the security key, through the thumb.
That's smart.
So-
I like that a lot. And like you were saying, teachers can use it. For instance, my mom actually teaches foreign kids how to speak English through like an online video web thing. But if she could do that in person with
That's
them,
correct.
that would be great.
Well, you change the whole dynamics
Right.
of training because
Yeah.
your mom could spend 30 minutes as an avatar. Now, because she's the moderator in the environment, she has a series of media boards. She controls a Google page, she controls
Wow.
video, and then she has a classroom. So she can go 1-to-1 or 1-to-100.
Yeah, that's even
And because
better.
they are avatars,
Yeah.
and how can you make sure they're listening? Every now and then you ask people to raise their hand. So if an avatar doesn't
Yeah.
raise their hand, get back online.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
because it's visual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
so-
how many use cases there are.
Yes,
There's
there
a lot of
are
layers.
many, but again, just like any business model, we're looking at key areas. Like I said, we are in education, health,
Right.
travel, entertainment, and we are building what we call the first 3D social network,
Right.
where you actually have your own personal room. So at the click of a button, it could be a stadium, or it could be New York, or it could be
Wow.
anything like that. And inside of that space, you actually put your digital assets in that virtual room. But the difference in our social network, you invite people into your space.
That's so cool. And people can go places that they wouldn't maybe be able
That's
to
correct.
go, couldn't afford to go.
That's correct.
That's
Not
really
as
awesome.
VR.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, it's this VR. And again, VR has its place, but I'm afraid of VR.
Yeah.
The elements of VR interaction, if you think we got addiction problem now,
That will
if you look at the
definitely make it
total
worse.
nature of VR, that you are completely immersed in an environment that's
Yeah.
potentially very dangerous.
I agree.
Very dangerous deep.
Yeah.
But whereas the virtual 3D web is a browser. So if you look at where we currently accessing the web, where we positioning the web, virtual 3D web, and where some say
Right.
VR is, when people get frightened from that, they're not going to want to go back to Web 2.0,
Yeah.
but the virtual 3D web. So they still get this immersion, but I can see someone stealing my TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in VR, I can't see them.
that makes
stealing my
sense, because I was a little bit confused. So it's,
Yes.
it's technically not VR then.
TV. No, it is a browser. It's
Okay.
a new browser technology.
And where are you guys based?
Well, we are PLC on the Isle of Man. We've been operating in that jurisdiction for about 3 years, mainly because of our connections with government. Because again, with healthcare, we need government input. You got Manx Health Care Services linked in with NHS in England with National Health Services, and now we're looking to move into North America in the U.S. with the constant changes in reference to online gambling.
Yeah.
Again, they've got a problem when you're dealing with addiction. So our
Right.
first use case model, Habat, which will be ready by early part of Q2 next year to tackle that problem.
Yeah.
Just to give you the scope of it, just in the UK alone, there's 593,000 certified sufferers of gambling addiction, what they call gambling disorder.
And those are just the certified ones.
That's just the
Yeah,
certified
right.
ones, yes.
Wow,
So
very
yeah.
interesting.
So we're based in Isle of Man.
So are you planning on expanding to other markets?
Yes, we are. Again, looking at the expandability of what the virtual 3D web is. One of the key elements of virtual 3D web is to be able to create virtual environments. We're almost in the same position Cisco was when they brought in Cisco Network Academies. There weren't enough Cisco engineers, so how could Cisco expand if it didn't have the engineers? So what did Cisco do roughly 20 years ago? They set up schools. They created a program, delivered it into primary and high schools, and trained people to be engineers. So what did the student have to do? Just pass the test, and it was instant jobs.
Wow.
And I was part of that program back then, without giving too much of my age. But we're doing the same thing, because there are not enough creative design people. There are not enough game design.
Yeah.
How are we going to build our virtual environments?
Right.
So we have to create our own schools. So when you said about expansion, we
Yeah.
are building schools in countries. One of the first places we're looking to build our school is Serbia, with a lot of interest in sort of the creative talents in countries like that. We're putting a school there. And the same principle as people, even from off the street, we can train people. There's some people who are not academically inclined, but
right.
they are technically inclined
Yeah.
and got minds.
Right.
So if we create these training programs, all they got to do is pass. They got an instant job with us.
Wow.
So not only are we building an ecosystem, we are also training people
Yeah.
to feed that. So our expansion is, like I said, is as Serbia, U.S. We can open up the office in U.S.
Nice.
We're currently now looking at Asia, because with our brand for Vegas, we have 3D Vegas, 3D Euro Vegas, and 3D Macau. So we will also have branch office. So there is
Wow.
an expansion inside of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. And you're giving opportunity to people that wouldn't otherwise have
That's
it.
correct.
So how are you linking people together in this space?
Well, again, through amazing network, people actually hear what we're doing.
Right.
It's the word of mouth in itself, because it's just like you. I've just met you and we're talking, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I hit on a point that was true. You mentioned your mom and
Exactly.
teaching.
Yeah.
I found it amazing. As soon as I start talking about this, people find uses
Right.
themselves, and then we go off on another tangent.
Yeah.
But there's only 6 degrees of separation from everybody on the planet. All I got to do is touch you. You'll walk away from this and say, "Wow, I met
Right.
this interesting guy, and he's doing this."
Yeah.
And word of mouth spread. But not only that, it's the relationships we've met with several ICOs already who've seen a synergy in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So because they don't see us as competition, because we're not, they see the synergy.
Yeah.
And that just flips. That 6 degrees very quickly, 36, and
That's good.
and so that is it.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. And these events are great.
Absolutely.
I think people should come out and meet people because you can meet some really awesome people like this guy. And what is a website that everybody can go to learn more?
Well, to find out more
Yeah.
about what we're doing, we have creative3dweb.io.
Okay, perfect.
You can go to that site and see everything. We have both a white paper, which is really for you technical guys. It's like molasses. You can go through it.
Right.
But we've also created a simpler version of the explanation of our white paper so that people who are less inclined to read through Treacle can look at it visually and see a representation of what the white paper is.
Oh,
so,
good.
yeah,
That's
to make it
helpful.
easy, because it's all about educating the public.
Yeah.
If you don't educate the public on your technology, then your technology is...
Then no one knows. Well, thank you so much for interviewing
you.
with me today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.